Good evening, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order, and we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, Al, if you could start us with roll call, please.
Benson. Here. Sarah. Here. Burden. Here. Gross.
Here.
Hoffman.
Present.
Mybom.
Here.
Minor. Here. Mosier.
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
City Manager Nelson.
Here.
City Attorney Denner.
He's on his way.
All right, next on the agenda is approval of our minutes from the regular meeting of July 23rd, 2018. What is your pleasure?
I move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions from the commission? Does anyone from the public have input on our minutes? All right, roll call.
Minor.
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Benson. Aye. Sarah.
Aye.
Burden.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Hoffman.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. Motion passes. Next, we have the schedule of bills. What is your pleasure?
I move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Does the commission have any questions or comments on our bills? Does anyone from the public wish to address the commission? Roll call.
Mosier.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Burden.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Hoffman.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. We've passed the bills. Next, Amy Nelson will give the city manager's report.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the Commission, and public. Our mission is to provide exemplary experiences, services, and spaces that create opportunities for everyone to learn, engage, and thrive. In doing so, we have a couple of announcements for you this week. The county will be helping us out with our mosquito abatement between the dates of August 15th and August 27th, weather dependent. While we do not believe it's unsafe for children or pets to be outdoors during that time, some folks do like to stay indoors during mosquito abatement. Tomorrow we will see you again at 5:30 at City Hall on second floor, where we have a budget meeting that's already been noticed by the press and by us. So at that time we'll make a determination whether we need to meet also on Wednesday. Tonight on consent, you'll talk about an open house for a dive in Yankton. So if we're not having a budget meeting, maybe some of you will attend that. The community-wide survey will be mailed out sometime around or on August 20th. We're calling it a community-wide survey because this year folks will have the opportunity to fill out that survey online, so anybody can fill it out if they'd like to. However, it will be mailed to a random sample of folks as we normally do. We did not change the questions this year. However, that may be something that we do and try to focus on certain numbers of services or maybe certain departments in the future to get some more in-depth information from the community. We will be embarking with the Yankton School District on a Paint the Plows project. You may be familiar with plow painting in other cities, and we will be doing the same. So in cooperation with the schools, we're going to have some snow removal equipment that will be painted, and the department heads do not know this yet, but we will also be involving the employees on one of the pieces of snow removal equipment to paint. So that will be a fun project, a way to have some public art that won't be as expensive as maybe some of the other things that we would like to do in the future. Commissioner Gross, I believe, has something he would like to share regarding MSAC.
Thank you. The meeting that I promised you would be held in August between the Corps of Engineers, the stakeholders in Lewis and Clark Lake has been moved. We couldn't coordinate everybody's schedule, so now instead of the end of August, it will be the 21st of September in Niobrara. At that time, or prior to that time, I expect a request. The Corps has rejected MSAC's request for the study because MSAC is not a taxing entity, and the request has to come from a taxing entity, and so I will be talking to you between now and then regarding Yankton being one of. We will not have to fund it entirely because we will have support. Knox County's already on board. The Ponca Tribe's already on board. So this is starting to happen, but I just thought I would let you know that the meeting that I originally had said would be held towards the end of August will now be the 21st of September at Niobrara. Thank you.
I have nothing further. I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Gross, for that update. Thank you, City Manager Amy Nelson. Does any of the commission have questions? All right, then we will move on to public appearances. And this is a time when members of the public are invited to go to the podium and address the commission about anything that is not on our agenda tonight. All right. Seeing no one making motions to the podium, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Number one is a possible work session for August 27, 2018 at 6 p.m. here in room 114 of the Regional Technical Education Center for our next work session. And is that regarding golf, are you thinking, Amy?
Yes, our intention right now is to have folks from Great Life along with our staff to come and give us an update on how things are going, and we can possibly at that time start talking a little bit more about some of the parameters of a lease arrangement. So I don't believe we've vetted out that date quite yet with Great Life, but we're working on that with them. That'll be, of course, open to the public.
All right, number two is a possible quorum event on August 22nd, 2018 for Chamber Golf Day, during which there'll be no official commission action. Number three, establishing August 27th, 2018 as the date for a public hearing on the request for a new retail on-off sale wine license for January 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2018 for To Be Free LLC, which is Courtney Villalobos as president, and RB Beer and Burgers at 2901 Broadway. Number four, establish August 27th, 2018 as the date for the public hearing on the transfer of ownership of a retail on-off sale malt beverage license for July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019 from RB Beer and Burgers, doing business as RB Beer and Burgers, to Be Free LLC, which will also be RB Beer and Burgers at 2901 Broadway. And number five, establish August 27th, 2018 as the date for the public hearing to discuss a community development block grant funding application for a certified nursing assistance program, and also to discuss community development and housing needs. And finally, number six, we have a possible quorum event on August 15th, 2018 for the Dive-In Yankton Open House, during which there'll be no official commission action. What is your pleasure?
Move the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments about the items on the consent agenda from the commission? Does anyone from the public wish to address the commission about any of these items? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed say no. Thank you very much. Moving on to new business, as there is no old business. Number one is an Onward Yankton funding request. It's Memorandum 18-164. I think we'll have Amy introduce this.
Sure. Honorable Mayor, members of the Commission, the Onward Yankton board members have discussed a desire to phase out the funding that they received from the City of Yankton in order not to disrupt the activity and services that they are providing. As such, the board is requesting that the City Commission fund Onward Yankton at sort of a graduated level, stepping down each year, $20,000 for fiscal year 2019, $15,000 for fiscal year 2020, and $10,000 for fiscal year 2021. Onward is here this evening to visit with you a little bit more about this request. As you know, we have submitted the 2019 budget. The recommendation from the outside agency committee to the full commission was not to fund Onward Yankton in 2019, and therefore in the budget proposal that you have currently, there is no allocation for Onward Yankton in that budget. Currently, the balance in the triple B projected at year end to 2019, as is with the budget presented as it is, would be $502,904. This balance reflects an estimated deficit spending in 2019 of about $35,000. So Tabitha Lickness is here to answer questions you have and fill you in a little bit more about the requests. And I did remind her that you guys do have a budget meeting tomorrow evening, so you may just be getting feedback tonight, or you may choose to act.
Thank you. I am Tabitha Lickness, president of Onward Yankton, and here with me tonight are other Onward board members, Rita Nelson, maybe you guys can wave at least or something, Danielle Filsinger, Kristen Hicks, Tara Leonard, Carmen Schramm, and out in the hallway we have one of our Mo managers, and I'll speak a little bit more to that. She's an Onward volunteer. Thank you for considering our budget request for 2019. We appreciate the opportunity to give you a quick update on Onward Yankton and what we hope to accomplish, hopefully with just a little help in 2019. Onward is truly accomplishing its original vision of revitalizing our city through 3 pillars: invigorating our downtown district so that it can become a hub for entrepreneurism, small business, and entertainment; encouraging entrepreneurs through education at all levels; and supporting the business community with programs like SCORE, which Commissioner Bybaum has spearheaded, and our co-working space, which I'll speak to in a little bit. This is an exciting time for downtown. The city commissioners and citizens are making impressive investments, and that's obvious on Walnut Street this summer. We're seeing private investments as well. Lots of smaller businesses are making improvements. And we're also fortunate to see larger projects like the 4th floor added to First Dakota a year ago and the Stockwell Engineering headquarters. Willoughby's new location is an exciting redo of an old building, and we're seeing new facades and much more. Kat Evans is painting art in the alleys. We're meeting on how to do better lighting and possibly creating archways. All that grew from the Design South Dakota project that many of you attended. Now let me speak directly to our budget request. We do not intend, nor do we want to be an annual expense to the city. Onward Yankton's goal is to start projects that become sustainable. Thanks to many private contributions from businesses and individuals, and modest but important investments from the city that I think we've greatly leveraged, we are in the middle of 2 very important startups. The first one is the Meridian District. It turned out that just as Onward Yankton began, ironically, the whole old historic district folded. We realized that we have to have an organized downtown district, and so much of our time and resources were spent in restarting the organization that is now the Meridian District. We're proud of the progress the Meridian District has made. We're committed to helping them become sustainable, but it won't happen probably in 2019, so we hope you will work with us to continue support for the district in the short term. The second major startup that we're doing is now what we call the Mo. It's a co-working space that has great potential. The workplace is changing, and many people are working for large companies from their homes and looking for a place to connect. Entrepreneurs are also looking for a place to plug into downtown. And Amy Bailey. So we have 2 Onward volunteers that have helped us through this remodeling project. And through this process, they've agreed to help be what we're calling Mo managers, but they plan to work out of the space like any other users of the space. So if I'm going to put them on the spot, just quickly, can you tell the group kind of what you plan on doing there and maybe your unique situation?
Sure. We promise we're not turning it into a daycare. Or we could put a daycare in the basement. Why not? No, that's fine. Yeah, like Tabitha said, we're volunteering our time just so that we can get this off the ground and running. Personally, I work for a company out of New York, so I work remote 100% from my home, and as it's great to work from home every once in a while, I can't keep dressing up to go to the grocery store, and so I need to get out. I need to be a part of the community, and that's why, especially when the co-working space started last year, I went in for it right away, but definitely with the co-working space, it needs to be suitable for a workplace, and so Onward has graciously taken that on, and we're so close, and we can't wait for it to open on September 1st, but yeah, so that's kind of My story.
My particular story is that I started my own business about a year and a half ago, and one thing that really drives my business is connecting with others, so word of mouth advertising, and that has really helped being in a co-working space. I run into other people, I've built relationships with people I never would have, and I feel like that has really helped my business grow, and I think that there is so much more growing yet to do. And so personally, yeah, I see a lot of benefit not having to work from home, being part of the community, being part of being in a space where people kind of collide and things start to happen. I think that's important. And if we want to be a city that fosters entrepreneurship, or entrepreneurialism, that's all a word, then I think we need to give people a space where that happens. And we can't just expect them to do it out of their home and not have any resources or support around them. And so I think we'll see more people come out of the woodwork and try their own thing if they have a space where they feel like there's a community to support them and resources there that they can connect into.
Yeah, and it's more than just a full-time person looking to be at the space. Our goal is to have, you know, people coming into the community, and if they need a temporary space or they need a place to work for a certain project for a certain amount of time, that's we want to give them the means to do that as well. So, yeah. Thank you both. Yeah, of course.
It really is a concept that works, and we're going to make it work for Yankton. We've invested about $30,000 so far in the last 9 months in remodeling that space and getting ramped up to be able to offer it in a nonprofit capacity. So we're just trying to do all sorts of different memberships that fit all sorts of different needs to get a lot of energy into that space, do programs like SCORE, different programming throughout there, but definitely have it be that central hub. But our goal ultimately is to make sure it's sustainable, and we could sure use your continued partnership for another year or two. So our budget request is this. Again, we do not want to be an annual expense to the city, but we hope you will phase us out so we can get these ongoing projects to completion rather than just stopping cold turkey. We hope you would consider a 3-year phase down, though we know you cannot commit future commissions, but our request would be $20,000 for fiscal year 2019, $15,000 for fiscal year 2020, and $10,000 for fiscal year 2021. These are just a fraction of our total costs, but we believe we can leverage your investment in a very big way with contributions and memberships and other plans that we have to make these projects sustainable. Progressive cities absolutely need sustainable downtown business district organizations, and cities that are reaching out to entrepreneurs are developing co-working spaces like the Mo. These are both critical steps forward for Yankton. We thank you for all you, as city commissioners and staff, have been doing for decades to make Yankton a better place. We'll hope you'll agree that Onward Yankton's very specific long-term plans are important steps and worthy of your support. Thank you. Are there questions?
Thank you very much, Tabitha, and the rest of you who presented to us, and all the board members who are here tonight. Now we'll open up to the commission if you have any questions or comments.
Thank you, Tabitha. I appreciate your energy, your group, as Nathan alluded to. I just excited about your energy towards our future, and especially downtown. The question I have is, explain the relationship currently with the Meridian District.
Sure. So one of our biggest priorities with Onward Yankton is knowing, we had this idea, but we didn't necessarily think we were going to be in this board capacity and constantly making all these projects work as Onward Yankton itself. So everything that we do, we want to make sure can be passed off. So when we first got a group together to help form the Meridian District, they became a separate legal entity. But without their own funding source, we've been their support system and their funding. I believe their only source of funding. So we made a rather significant donation to them last year of about $45,000 to fund not only that position, but any of their events and projects. And we didn't necessarily be extremely specific on how they had to spend it because they have their own board of directors and their own organization. But we had some high-level requests, and that was to make sure that you're maintaining that board structure and that you are creating a sustainable way of operating going forward. And we know that because they haven't gotten as far into their their bid as they plan, or that may not even be the way they plan to be sustainable going forward. I know they're looking at lots of different options, but we know they won't have something in place to be able to operate in their current capacity for 2019, so we know we're going to have some level of funding to prevent them from just like stopping in their tracks. But they're completely separate from us. We have Tara Leonard as a liaison to our board, and she's our board member but sits on their board just to keep us kind of up to speed on their updates. Did that answer your question?
Thank you.
Just an observation, if I may.
Yeah.
I've been here longer than most, and trying to organize the downtown is like trying to herd cats. The bid district has some opposition in the downtown community, and I'm going, how do you overcome that? How do you get lots of different ideas about what can be, should be done in our downtown? I mean, this commission has funded downtown organizations for more years than I can remember. And we're back to, we're trying to find another way to herd cats.
I know what you're saying, but I think the cats need herded. How about that? I don't think we want to give up. I think that I see a very great group of individuals there. I mean, we've got Tyler Buckman leading the charge there. Tara, can you speak to some of the board members that might be able to help provide some of the structure behind that group and why it might be different than what we've seen in years past? I know they're meeting weekly.
No, I definitely think that we need to continue moving forward. Change takes time. I believe that Jessica Scott and her group have a great vision, and you know what? They're ready to move forward on it, and I really think that the city should believe in their challenge. If we were just to say we're not going to do anymore because we've done it that way and it didn't work, I think we need to continue being positive and doing that, what we're changing, and trying to make that a positive thing for Yankton. Yeah, change is hard, but they're looking at rebranding, they're looking at just all different aspects of it, and I think the majority of the people are starting to see that it's a Meridian district, it's an effort, and Yankton is getting named on the map because of their work that they're doing.
And I would add to that, maybe behind the scenes it doesn't feel like it's fully operating and fully self-sufficient, but I do think that the moment that Meridian District kind of logo and concept came out, it just was impressive how, without even being asked, the businesses started picking it up. And they were using it in their radio ads. They were using it in their newspapers. And I think it felt like the first time that they belonged to something and they were trying to attach their identity to it. And I think everything that you see, all the events that are downtown, all of the, not just events, but like just the, I'm trying to think of their logos and, their marketing. They've embraced that. And I think, sometimes the structure behind it and the ongoing ability to operate in a smooth capacity, it might take a little bit of time, but I think on the surface and to the public, they're certainly seeing that district have its own identity. Anything else?
Are there any other commission questions or comments?
I have a question for the city manager. When we talk about the balance in the BBB reflecting an estimated deficit spending in 2019 of $34,000, that is according to what? 0% growth, 2% growth, negative growth?
We budgeted 1.5% growth for next year.
And what
So
are we?
that could be more, could be less.
Thank you.
One other point that needs to be made, I think, and I'm not on the committee, but I attended their meeting. What the committee did, was take and add what had previously been budgeted, if you will, for Onward, and added that to the facade program. So we increased the facade program from a $15,000 city contribution to a $30,000. And at that point eliminated, thinking that we were doing what you wanted done, in a sense. You were, you know, this was part of your program for the downtown, and so we just rolled it into ours.
I feel facades certainly speak to the mission and what Onward wants to accomplish. We did not specifically have funds designated for facades next year, or have we had any specific funding towards facades. So while I appreciate the efforts going towards our vision, it isn't something that we had planned on or have been paying for in the past. It was something we always felt that if we did something parallel with what the city had been doing, we'd probably just kind of get in each other's way and confuse people. So we haven't put any money towards facade grants in the past.
Something I wanted to quick clarify too, I wanted to thank Onward with being part of the local SCORE chapter here. We don't receive any funding from Onward Yankton, and actually I'd like you to talk a little bit about an event that you got planned that SCORE is going to contribute to coming up here in October. What I want to do also is thank Onward, because having a space for the kind of mentorship that we offer through SCORE for small businesses and entrepreneurs, looking forward to having that space downtown as essentially a headquarters where we can meet. And if we have to work out a rent with Onward Yankton to help make that a reality, we're happy to do that. But I want you to talk about something that wasn't on the application when the outside agency committee first met, and that is this educational conference.
And I will not steal Rita's thunder. Okay, they put a lot of hard work into this, and I know of all the plans, but I will not articulate them as well as they will.
And thank you for the question. One of the projects that the Onward Education Committee is working on is a Youth Entrepreneurship Conference, and it's called Lead, Serve, Impact. So it ties with Mount Marty. It's going to be held at Mount Marty on October 17th. Mm-hmm. You want to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, sure. So essentially what it started with was a group of people on the Education Committee comprised of Barb Rizak, Lauren from
Lauren
Way,
Hansen, Dr. Jonke.
Dr. Jonke, yes.
Josh Spatos, Brady Muth with the junior achievement.
Yep.
So we have a very collaborative, hardworking education committee.
Yeah, they're a group of members who represent all of our educational systems in the city of Yankton. So it was great to have all of them in the committee, and every single one of them agreed that an entrepreneurship conference to basically talk to our youth, our high school youth, about being entrepreneurs and what entrepreneurship is, and how it means that you have, you can have a spirit to say, I can do anything that I want to do, I can start anything that I want to start, and I can start it wherever I want to. So the focus of this entrepreneurship conference is on how we can be entrepreneurs in rural communities.
And we are focusing a bit because of the committee, the makeup of the committee. It's actually taking not just the entrepreneurial spirit and what you can achieve if you want to look at opportunities for business. It's also the social and community engagement piece, because it's making an impact in the community that you live in. And what can they accomplish? They may say, we're focusing on 7,800 juniors and seniors within 60 miles of Yankton. And if it goes well, and we can fill up Mount Marty, they can host 700 students. So we have an agenda put together. We have some great keynote speakers coming in. One of them being Brent Comstock, who has his own business that he started at the age of 12 in Auburn, Nebraska, which has only 2 stoplights. And his promotion is, instead of just seeing emptiness, I see opportunity. And this is why I wanted to invest in my hometown, which has grown. He has grown his business. He's probably 22.
Yeah.
And he has a thriving business. And so we're really looking at that, expanding the focus, the engagement, the momentum that you kind of can feel within the community, bringing it to the high schools, students within our community, within 60 miles of Yankton. So we have a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, you can find more if you'd like to know more information on that conference on Onward Yankton's website. It's Fall 18 Entrepreneurship Conference. It's right on the very top. So we have more detail of the keynote speakers that are going to be there and a full agenda, but there's a women's panel, a women business leaders panel that will be there as well, and it is comprised of several women in our community that will get to talk about their success and why they felt success in their businesses here in Yankton. So that'll be a great way to highlight some of our area businesses that these high school students can see and develop excitement around, and maybe one day they can do that in their communities as well.
And I appreciate SCORE's support and involvement and being willing to facilitate the breakout session, working with the students. Again, it goes back to it takes all of us working together, because it's not something that one organization can afford to organize and present. It takes everyone within the community coming together to grow the community.
It's been really impressive to see the Education Committee in Onward Yankton develop all of the programs that they have, not only with this entrepreneurship conference, but with the entrepreneurship fellowship that Rita put together. We have 7 fellows in that program right now as well, and they're all very talented members of our community too. So just another example of a wonderful program that Onward Yankton is able to fund because of the money that we're so generously given to continue our mission.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll add to that. One of the fellows that just graduated last week opened her business on Avenue Coffee this week. So that's kind of a product. I mean, I'm sure she had the idea ahead of time, but that's the kind of candidate we're looking for in our fellowship program, because of all the people Rita introduces them to and all the presentations and speakers and resources that are provided, they're able to do things like open businesses here, right here in Yankton. When Rita spoke to the 700 spots, I would say that's probably their biggest fear right now, because knowing you want first-year events to be successful, there's no fee for this. So you've invited 700 to 800. If we get, there's so many people that are interested in this, I think there's some concern that how are you going to, I don't know what we're going to do when we have more than 700, but it's a free conference, and it'll be great to get those surrounding communities into Yankton. Now, Tony, I was like, did we answer your question? Okay. I'm like, where were we at with that?
And I would just add, I know it's been described as herding cats.
And I shouldn't have said that.
No,
I just meant it's hard
because
to get a lot of structure and just ongoing sustainability, and I think we just had some starts and stops, and we had some transition in the person that was in the role, and in our case too. So now that Jessica's been in the role for a year or 6 months now, you wished, okay. We're getting there.
Well, I just wanted to roll that into a compliment, because really what I have seen from you guys is, I think we can probably all agree, cats exist. But I think you guys have done a great job of leading the cats. And I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anything else from the commission? Would anyone in the audience like to address the commission? Or yes, Ed, please step to the podium.
My name is Eric Gleich, and the one thing I heard old saying goes, if you build a better mousetrap, the world will pass through your door. Well, we got to find a good mousetrap so we attract these people to come to the whole world comes to our door. I mean, back in '71, a minimum wage was $1.60, but there were 3 hardware stores downtown, 3 men's stores, I think 2 women's stores. They all moved to the mall, but the bar is empty now too. Nothing in the mall. So, where did you got to go? They go to Sioux Falls or down to Norfolk. We got to find a mousetrap to attract the people to come here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Anyone else in the audience that wishes to address the commission? All right. Well, like we mentioned earlier, there will be a budget session tomorrow night at 5:30 at City Hall. I'm guessing this subject will come up in one form or another as we put the finishing touches on our budget for next year. With that, we'll move on to number 2 under new business. Oh, and again, I just want to thank everyone from Onward Yankton who took the time to be here tonight and explain to us in more depth about what you're doing. It's a lot of good work, and like you said, it takes a lot of different people in different areas working together to move the community forward. And it's not always easy work. So number 2 under new business is consideration of memorandum 18-165 regarding the 15th Street Railroad Crossing Upgrades Agreement with the South Dakota Department of Transportation. What is your pleasure?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would either the city manager or Adam wish to introduce this subject to the public? I know it's one that I get questioned about a lot.
Yes, this is an agreement between the South Dakota Department of Transportation and the city to upgrade the rail crossing on 15th Street. And it's a little over $100,000 project, and the city's responsible for 10% of that cost, so a little over $10,000. And actually, in-kind work through the city's street department forces performing construction activities around that crossing will go towards that $10,000. It'll be very similar to the 21st Street crossing we just did. It'll have signals and gates or arms and a new crossing surface. So for 2019.
And you're thinking that would be done in spring of 2019, or do we have any idea?
We can push to get it done as soon as possible. I can't guarantee the time frame, but yes.
Thank you. Does anyone on the commission have anything to add? Does anyone in the audience wish to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Fertig.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Hoffner.
Aye.
Ibom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. Motion passes. Number 3 under new business is consideration of memorandum 18-166, authorizing an application for funding and agreements associated with the Chan Gurney Municipal Airport apron expansion and hangar relocation project. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Dave Bingo, would you care to describe this item to the public, please?
This is administratively another step, or a series of other steps in the process to get our apron expansion project that we've been working on for about 3 years now, and hangar relocation project moving forward. The bit of bad news that I received at about 10 after 5 today is that the FAA has yet to determine whether or not they're going to consider the hangar relocation part of the project as eligible. We had received initial word from some of their staff that that was going to be looked upon favorably. Now we don't know, so we've been asked to remove that part of the project from what would be number 2 in your out of those 4 action items. So we're still hopeful that that can come forward, but it would be part of another action by the commission at a future date. So right now we're talking primarily the apron expansion project and the documents associated with that activity. Those numbers would actually go slightly down then with the hangar relocation part of the project removed from consideration.
Question, does this doesn't delay the removal of the old tile hanger?
Correct. We are through what's called the FONSI, the Finding of No Significant Impact process. We're in the middle, through the filings, we're in the middle of a publication time period, have not received any comments. So we should be on track for that, which makes way for the apron expansion project, most of the apron expansion project. Yeah.
Are there any other commission questions or comments on this item? Dave, we certainly appreciate you and our staff navigating this long and complicated process. Does anyone in the audience wish to address the commission on this item? All right, roll call.
Sarda.
Aye.
Fertig.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Hoffner.
Aye.
Ibom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 4, under new business, is consideration of Memorandum 18-167 in support of Resolution 18-49, setting the 2018 Yankton road tax rate. And that would be at 50 cents per foot, which is what it is currently at. What is your pleasure?
I move the memo.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the commission have any questions or comments on this item? Does anyone from the audience wish to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Furley.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Hoffner.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Wojcik.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. Motion passes. Number 5, under new business, is consideration of Memorandum 18-168 and Resolution 18-50 regarding a request by the United Way for a special events parking ordinance number 933 to be in place during a United Way event on September 8th, 2018, and suspension of our alcohol consumption rules. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Brittany, would you mind telling us about this event? Because I think the next several items are actually all regarding the same weekend, aren't they?
Correct, yeah. So this event is on Saturday, September 8th. It's previously been in the Landing parking lot. It's United Way's kind of kickoff to their big week, and it is the Human Foosball Tournament. They wanted to move it down into the Meridian District to just kind of, right in the heart of the Meridian District, to attract more people and make it a bigger event for future years, and also hopefully help the Meridian District. The day before, the 7th, is a first Friday that has recently been started in the Meridian District, and that's where Meridian District retailers are encouraged to stay open late. There's things happening within the Meridian District that probably wouldn't happen on a nightly basis. Food trucks, live music, that type of stuff. And then that's also kind of the kickoff to our art alleys, which you've kind of heard about from Onward Yankton. It was one of the upcomings from the Design South Dakota. Kat Evans will be finishing the mural that night, and so we're planning, we're asking to close Walnut to Douglas to kind of do an event, have some live artists in the street, and then also really promote First Friday by encouraging retailers to really be involved in this one and maybe set up some stuff in the street or on the sidewalks.
I have a question. Have you talked to all the businesses about a 2-day, actually it's over, a 2-day closure of 2 very busy days for them and their feelings about closing it for 2 days?
Yep, so now the process that we do is if there's going to be a closure, you have to get business signatures. Most, I would say, are okay with it. They understand that sometimes it takes closing a street to get people down there for events. There have been a few oppositions. They feel it hurts business. We encourage them by saying, we're bringing people down, so we're hoping that it helps the walk-in rate. We're not closing all of 3rd Street. It's just a small portion, so there still is parking. It is by Walnut, and so that does hurt parking just a little bit. We don't have that off-street parking on Walnut. We always try to be accommodating. So for Friday, we were going to close it at noon so United Way could come in and set up their courts. We are only going to close half of the street, so from the alley between Walnut and Douglas to Douglas Street, we're going to close that starting at noon, and then we'll close the rest of the street about 4:30, so that gives us time if there are cars that are parked there to find the owners and get them moved, so that way we can start the event at 5 o'clock. So we try to be as accommodating to all parties involved.
So I'm assuming, the extra portion that you have for the alcohol laws is just to encompass pretty much all the downtown businesses that serve serve alcohol.
Yep, that's correct. So for the open consumption that they're requesting, the Meridian District and United Way is getting some cups made, so there'll be special cups, and it's also as a fundraiser for the Meridian District and United Way. You can purchase these cups for $5. There are participating bars, so letters to all of the bars have been sent, and we've talked to them. They could pay a vendor fee and get their logo on this cup, and that cup is what they would buy from the event and then take into the bars and then purchase whatever they wanted, and that would be what would be taken outside. And so that is from Broadway to Capitol, so we can open it up to all the Meridian District bars, especially because this week, since there are 2 events happening, Friday and Saturday, and with the first Friday, we're going to kind of encourage the retailers to think of it as like a fall kickoff crazy days type event, and so really hoping retailers jump on the bandwagon and do some stuff to kind of promote their business as well.
Which kind of leads me to my second question. What was the thinking of doing 2 separate events? I mean, to me, this would sound like a great idea to just do one event all together, get that many more people down there all at the same time, instead of closing the street down for 2 days and just do one mega event. But
honestly, it just kind of happened that way. The Art Alley on the first Friday was one different event that I've been planning theirs, and it was just recently that United Way wanted to do their event. And so maybe that's something that we look at in the future of doing it all on one day. This year it just was coincidence that they were both looking at those dates, and it ended up being a weekend event.
So what's the formula for street closures? That if you get more than 50% of the businesses that said, no, we don't want the street closed, would that be the breaking point?
I would say so, probably. We don't currently have a formula. We haven't had more than 50 ever oppose. I let businesses know, and I tell the organizing committees to let them know that if they have any opposition, if they're able to come to the commission so they can express their concerns. But it would be my recommendation that it be at 50%, which we are not at and have not been at in any of the requests that we've had for closures this year.
So just looking at the special events handbook from July of 2016, hasn't been updated since then, right? That's about the time that we...
There has been one update.
Okay, it's the last one that I see. So what we're talking about then specifically is special event street closing, no city enforcement or towing. And the line is, the property owners in the blocks in question must be agreeable to the barricades or blockage of streets. So it doesn't say anything about signatures, but that you were alluding to. That's something that that your office has added recently, that you get signatures, but right now there's no threshold, like you got to get at least 50% to agree.
Correct, yep. Okay. So we have, we've seen in previous years, we've asked the organizers to, make sure all businesses are aware. We found that had not been happening, and there was no way for us to know for sure. It became a he said, she said game. And so this year we have implemented the signatures to let them know that they have been notified. So the signatures are not whether it's I approve, I do not approve. It's I have been notified that there is a street closure, or that they are asking for a street closure.
Once again, I mean, this has been a really busy summer for downtown Yankton. It's really incredible the amount of work that's gone on, both between you and Jessica and business owners downtown, really the community coming together and deciding that downtown is a place that we want to thrive and be a place where we can exist and have a good time together. So just really impressive that once again we'll be closing out the summer with another event. And sometimes that's causes issues, and it's painful to some sometimes, but hopefully we can work through that. And so thanks to everyone who's done that, who's worked through this process. Does the commission have anything else to add? Does anyone from the audience wish to address the commission on this item? All right, roll call.
Gross.
Aye.
Hoffner.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 6, under new business, is consideration of memorandum 18-169 and resolution 18-51 regarding a request by the Art Alley for special events parking ordinance number 933 to be in place during the Art Alley event on September 7th, 2018, and suspension of our alcohol consumption laws. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And again, this is part of that weekend of events that Brittany was just talking about.
Mayor Johnson, if I may, in the it's correctly written on the agenda in the packet. There is a typo. It says from 12 p.m. until 10 p.m. on September 8th, 2018. Should say 7th there. So that is a typo in the memo of your packet, and that's the one I did receive a call on that I informed you of earlier today.
Okay, so this is the event that I've got more questions on. I guess I'd like you to go into a little more detail on what's going on, because in the back of my mind, closing a whole street down and opening up the liquor laws for the whole downtown area for one mural and one alley has me a little bit leery. So I know you said there's other things going on. If you could elude on some of that kind of stuff and
you bet.
Put my mind at ease.
Of course. So it is in conjunction with First Friday, and so we are encouraging all Meridian District retailers to have displays outside and other promotions. In that closure, we have about 4 live artists that are going to be live painting, doing the stuff that they do. We have a chalk artist who is going to have a couple 3D chalk arts on the sidewalk, and then also be doing a live chalk art. We do have some live music that's going to be happening, and then a food truck within that blocked closure. And then Kat Evans will be finishing up her mural in the alley that people can kind of come and check out and see her finish it. Does that answer what's happening? Do you want more? I can.
If there's more.
If you want to.
Well, thank you for having me. To speak more on First Friday events.
Jessica, if you could introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Jessica Scott, Director
audience.
of the Meridian District. To speak about First Fridays, this is something that we have been trying to find a way around one of our big problems, which is that our retailers are open from 9 to 5 in our downtown. A majority of the consumers work 9 to 5. So when we're looking at how are we going to grow our downtown, how are we going to get more business, is a downtown shop sustainable on a Saturday, that one day when everyone's off and they're open. So we're trying to encourage retailers to see if they stay open late one day a month. That's all we're asking. Stay open late one day a month. Let's see how much traffic we can get down. Let's see if it makes sense. Let's see if moving and shifting the hours downtown to like 10 to 6. This is just a baby step to start looking at the bigger picture. So we have been working all summer to try to grow this First Friday event. It's strictly a shopping event. So this directly helps all of the retailers. It has been very slow moving. We don't have any funds to apply towards this event, which makes advertising a bit of an issue, but we've been very creative on how we are trying to get this event out. So this would be one of our biggest joint efforts to really bring awareness to this First Friday event. If we can get this going well, then maybe we can do more. It has been discussed that maybe we could do a open container on these First Fridays more often. Make it something that's unique that you can't get anywhere else. I don't know of anywhere else where you can go and shop up and down a downtown with your alcohol. So of course that's not for everyone, but we're talking about one day a month. So we kind of already had all of this planned for First Friday. We're adding art in the alleyways to also bring more awareness to it. And then, of course, when United Way talked about this human foosball tournament, we saw a really great fit for the Meridian District, for everyone downtown. Having events downtown is strictly on the forefront of the Meridian District to get foot traffic downtown. We want to bring awareness to what we have to offer. It's not necessarily an immediate return when the people are down there, but they're down there, they're looking, they're saying, oh, well, this is nice. I might want to come back for here. I forgot that was there. So we really, as the Meridian District, try to get that foot traffic down there. And of course, there is going to be certain pushback because it is an inconvenience for some of the businesses, and we will try to work the best that we can with those people to let them know that this is for them, and how can we take something that has, this much inconvenience, but what's the potential there, and how can we get the most out of it. A couple hundred people walking by your store is fantastic. Yes, we have to close the streets because you can't have open streets and a couple hundred people downtown. So that kind of answers the first Friday question with a little bit more at the end, but...
Chris, I would also like to add that United Way is setting up their human foosball courts on Friday night, and they have kind of jumped on the bandwagon for the art happening. And so they have some like stencil stuff that they want to put on the side of their courts that they want the public to be able to come and participate and paint. So it kind of alludes to the whole art, concept that's happening on Friday. So that's another reason why we're doing a street closure, because those take up half a block themselves.
What's the benchmark that you're going after with this, that you could come back to us, say, in our September meeting and say it was a success?
Well, we know the numbers from the Human Foosball Tournament. Are you asking about the United Way event or just the whole thing in general? Whole thing in general? Okay, so to start with United Way, we know what their numbers were last year and what they raised. We are hoping to grow the teams from 8 from last year to 12 this year. We kind of max out during the time frame and how much time it takes to do the game. So 12 teams. We are taking over the food this year, which last year they had the landing do the food. So we're having all the food donated and then volunteering time. So we're hoping to have some funds raised from the food. We found a way to, again, bring people into downtown to make money for the bars. And then we're also making money off of the cups, just organizing it all. So that will be a way for us to say that, we've been able to raise some funds from this. They, in previous years, being at the landing and not being directly downtown, did not have some of the awareness that we're hoping to bring, being right there in the center of everything. So, as far as spectatorship goes, we want this to be something that is fun for the teams involved, but we also want people to come and watch because it's a really cool and unique event. I don't know anyone else that's doing something like this. So we want to have it be a family-friendly event. So we have a bunch of kind of carnival games set up. We have, of course, food for families, and then we have a bunch of games set up. And we're going to have, because it is a contest and competitive type of fundraising event, so we're going to have something for the children as well. As far as Friday goes, we are strictly looking at foot traffic. So we want to get people downtown. For the Meridian District, that is kind of where our responsibility stops. After that, it's up to the businesses to get those people off the sidewalks and off the streets into their stores and shops and hopefully get their sales. We will try to help them in any way that we can and give them ideas and educate them on how to do that. But ultimately, it is up to them as far as sales go. So a majority of how we are coming in afterwards and saying whether this was a success is partially the money that we are co-raising with United Way, and then with the foot traffic that we are getting and the awareness that we're getting for downtown.
On Friday night, in regards to the street closures and the alcohol laws being opened, what are the concerns of the store owners outside of just the extended hours and the inconvenience there? Are there additional concerns they have that they've brought to your attention?
Well, trying to think of other than those. I think a lot of it is the parking. They don't like for people not to be able to pull up right in front of them, and then Walnut, definitely makes that a little bit worse right now. But some people, yes, might not like the idea of people drinking out on sidewalks. But really, the reason that we're looking at that is it's a way for us to raise money and us not be responsible for the alcohol, which takes a lot of volunteer hours. It puts the money back into the Meridian District, which is what we're always looking at. How do we get money back into the businesses in the Meridian District? So, you know, if we blocked off the whole area more securely and you could only drink within it, it would only be maybe the bars within that short, you know, area. So it was just something that seemed to fit everyone. But we know that as we're doing anything, that we're going to have people that are going to have concerns, and we're going to look at those concerns and say, is it something that is, you know, how are we missing something? Is there something that we need to be doing better? And that kind of gives us an idea of, you know, how valid, how much energy and time do we need to put into fixing it, or is this something that we can't really, you know, it's just something that someone's not going to like, and ultimately we need to forge ahead with our vision and what we want to do that is best for the downtown. So part of my job also is building those relationships with the businesses so that they can learn that my job and the goal of the Meridian District is to make their businesses successful downtown. So as we continue to build that relationship, I am hoping that things will get better and that the communication will be more open. But since I am still a little bit new in my position, we're finding ways. How are we doing that communication? It's still a little bumpy right now, but we do have plans on improving that. So hopefully, yeah.
Sorry, are you going to talk to that, or I have just kind of a related question?
No, go ahead. I can jump in.
You had stated, and I think it was during our last motion and conversation on the foosball, but didn't you state that you have revised the street closure, and is that for Friday? So it sounds like, with the exception of a half block, is the only part that will be closed most of the day on Friday, from noon to 10, and then the other part is 4:30. So we're talking a half block. Is that correct, Brittany?
On Friday, from the alley to Douglas is closed from 12 to 4:30ish. I think we'll kind of make the call when we're down there, seeing how many cars are there. And then from 4:30ish to 10, it will be the whole block from Walnut to Douglas. And then on Saturday, the closure actually extends to the alley between Walnut and Cedar. So it's like a block and a half closure, if that makes sense.
I think it's important to remember too, there's just a tremendous amount of public parking all around 3rd Street, you're still less than a block away from pretty much anything via our parking lots that usually sit fairly empty. So I think it's important to keep that in perspective as well, even though, you know, I know it's depending on a person's ability to walk or, you know, be mobile, that it could be more of a challenge to them. But for most people, there's still lots of parking, and it's very close, and it's closer than you would get in any even mid-sized city.
Well, if I may, I just wanted to inform the commission that one of the branding pieces that we're trying to bring to the Meridian District is walkability. It's something that is a pillar with many downtowns. It works. We know it works. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We want to get people walking downtown, and that's what First Friday event also is. We encourage. Our tagline is shop, dine, walk. So we want to get people out there walking. So when we're talking about losing 1 block or a block and a half of parking, I know that Walnut makes it a little bit more difficult right now, but we're looking into the long term, and we're still doing that branding now, trying to encourage people to walk downtown. So with that in mind, it kind of levels right up to your parking issue, with the exception, of course, of those who it truly inconveniences who can't enjoy that option.
Commission, I would also just like to point out, as far as the alcohol goes, we're not perceiving this being like a third on third or a rock and rumble. You know, we don't expect people going absolutely nuts. It's more of a social drinking thing. So we're wanting people to go in and, you know, be able to socially walk around and enjoy, you know, a nice evening, going into different shops, checking out the live art that's going on and what is happening in Yankton. We're not promoting it as come down, grab a drink, and hang out. You know, it's something that we just want them to do socially, and just an added little perk. So I just wanted to clear your minds of that. We're not expecting people to come down and spend hundreds of dollars on their fun night with alcohol.
Does the commission have anything else to add? Does anyone in the audience wish to address the commission about this item? Roll call.
Hoffner.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 7 under new business is consideration of memorandum 18-170 and resolution 18-52 regarding a request by the Riverboat Days Committee for special events parking ordinance number 933 to be in place during Riverboat Days. And, by the way, Jessica, thank you very much for helping us with those questions. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Brittany, did you want to tell us a little bit about this item?
Basically, this is the same as previous years. They are requesting to close levee. It will be open for ADA accessible parking and their buses, and then they're also closing, the parking lots within the park and also in the softball fields. They're utilizing the parking lot by the Capitol building for vendors to come in and out of. It's not an actual parking lot for the weekend. And I think, just because they have been asking this, we have decided to put it into a memo. That way you guys are aware of what's happening with Riverboat Day, so that way it's following suit of all other events that are happening within Yankton.
Question, I don't remember closing the dock. Is that something we've done in the past?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other commission questions or comments? Jake, we know you'll be working hard this weekend. Thank you for that. Does anyone in the audience wish to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Hoffner.
Abstain.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 8 under new business is consideration of memorandum 18-154 regarding Memorial Park Tennis Court resurfacing. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Todd, would you like to introduce this item for us, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The tennis courts in Memorial Park need to be recoded. It's that time again in the life of tennis courts. The north courts have actually been our best courts in the community for holding tennis paint, other than Westside Park. They're doing okay also, but compared to the Summit Activity Center or the south courts of Memorial Park, they're doing fairly well. But last time we had the tennis courts resurfaced in Memorial Park, we used an outside vendor to do the sandblasting and kind of prepare them to be resurfaced. And so this time we're going to look at having the actual tennis company do the sandblasting on the south courts at Memorial Park to see if we can get a little bit better quality job done by the time it's said and done. It's also been a while, and I do not have the time frame on when the original posts were put in for the tennis courts, but we would also look at doing the tennis court posts for the tennis nets. It's time to upgrade those. Also, as a part of this contract, there is a little practice area connected to the north courts that could be resurfaced at this time, and then there's also cracks in the surfaces, and there's a crack repair system that they can use that helps further the warranty that goes into the courts. In the past, we've looked at trying to get 7 to 8 years or more out of resurfacing, recoating the tennis courts, both at the Summit Activity Center and Memorial Court and Memorial Park, and we probably won't be able to do that anymore. We're probably going to have to look at every 5 to 6 years. We're going to have them recoated. But anyway, this project is fairly substantial to what we had budgeted because of the sandblasting on the south courts and replacing the tennis net standards on those courts. We have money available in funds that we were looking at using for replacing trails in Memorial Park, and so we can cover it. If the commission would decide that this they don't want to see that expenditure, we could look at doing just the south courts that are unplayable and combine the north courts when in a couple years we're going to have to do west side courts again. So we have some options if the number is not agreeable to everybody.
So the reason that you're talking about taking the money out of the trails at the park because of diving Yankton, that's not probably something we're going to do anyway this next year because of that project going on?
Yes, we'll look at in the northwest corner of that park, the asphalt trails. So when we talk trail replacement, that's mainly what we're talking about, not the concrete sidewalks around the perimeter of the park. It'd be the asphalt trails inside the park that need to be redone, and we would do them in concrete this time so we get away from some of the cracking and issues, separating the issues that we're starting to see in there. So yes, the majority of the northwest corner of that park, depending on the dive-in Yankton plan and if it moves forward, that'll have an impact on those trails. But then also the asphalt, we've done some crack sealing in the park, and so they're not the best shape, but they're not as terrible as they could be and causing injury to people with whether they're walking and tripping or bike tires getting into cracks or things like that. So we can continue to move down the line a little bit, and then we're eventually going to get to the point where we have to do the asphalt. But we have that money available. We don't need to spend it on trails this summer, so that would free it up for the tennis court project.
Do these courses see quite a bit of use, Todd? Or I see, not courses, but
courts, yeah.
Courts.
So the Summit Activity Center courts obviously get used for high school practices, tennis meets, and then not only high school but college tennis meets and practices. The Memorial courts pick up extra practices from the high school, Mount Marty College. They also utilize the West Side courts. And then we have adult tennis league, and I shouldn't say adult. We have a tennis league, a tennis association in town, so they work with youth and adults. We have our own summer recreation programs that utilize both sets of courts. And so yes, depending on where people live, again, the Summit Activity Center courts are nice. They have lights, but the Memorial tennis courts are, when they've been resurfaced, are also nice. They have lights on them, and again, depending on where people live in town, the middle school utilizes the Memorial Court, the tennis courts in Memorial Park, obviously for PE classes and some other programming, the Boys and Girls Club. So yes, they do see quite a bit of use.
Can you speak to the several new tennis courts that are out at NFAA and how they play into the mix that you just talked about?
So I haven't talked to anybody out the NFA through the summer, so I'm not sure how much play they're getting in the summer. Again, to get out of heat, maybe. We know once fall and rainier weather, cooler weather, windier weather comes around, people may be looking to get into the inside courts. They do have a fee that they're charging if it's the general public to have a membership to use those courts. I do not know what type of deal the NFAA has with Mount Marty College or Yankton High School for tennis. But really those courts wouldn't affect our outside courts until you get spring, fall, cold, wet, rainy, windy weather.
Are there any other commission questions or comments on this item?
Tennis, is it fair to say it's best described as an individual sport?
Yeah, I would describe it as an individual sport. People are a part of teams, so there's team scoring that goes with it, or they may play doubles. So you can have a little bit of a team concept, but for the majority, yeah, I would say it's an individual sport where two people are going to get together and play. Again, they can play teams, so you may have four people that get together to play. But
and right now, is it also fair to say that the city, we're pretty spread out there? We support both individual sports and team sports?
Yeah, indoors, outdoors, yeah, we support different individual or team sports, yes.
Is this probably the most expensive individual sport that we support?
No, I would, if you want to talk individual sports that are expensive, I think swimming would be at the top of the list.
Anything else? Does anyone in the audience wish to address the commission on this item? All right, roll call.
Aye. Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Burdick,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Mybom,
No.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Number 9, under new business, is consideration of memorandum 18-171 regarding change order number 1 for the 8th Street reconstruction project. This would reduce the cost of this project by $1,155. What is your pleasure?
Move the memorandum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any other commission questions or comments on this item? Does anyone from the audience wish to address the commission about this item? Roll call.
Moser,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Burdick,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Mybom,
Aye.
Minor,
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Finally, number 10 under new business is consideration of memorandum 18-172 regarding an agreement with Great Life for the Fox Run Golf Course. What is your pleasure?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Todd, would you like to describe this agreement for our viewing audience, please?
You bet. So looking at Fox Run, we had come to the commission a couple weeks ago with a letter of intent to work on a management agreement for the remainder of 2018, specifically talking about clubhouse operations. And so today was the last day of the letter of intent agreement, so we need to move into an actual management agreement. And what you'll find here attached in the packet is that agreement. And the cost that would be associated with it, the base compensation, 2 different areas I should talk about first. One is to get through the final part of the month of August, there's a flat fee of $8,730. Then after that, moving into the other months, remaining months of the year, September, October, November, and December, we would look at a fee of $14,969 a month. And there's some other factors that go into that figure. Again, providing 2 full-time employees to help our operations out. And there's a formula involved that looking at hours, a range of hours. So if we get below a certain number, there will be hourly credits that we get refunded back to us. Or if they go over, we demand more hours of them because the outside golf stays popular, the weather stays all right as we go into the fall. If it gets over a certain amount, then there's, again, that hourly rate that we would pay for them to continue to help us with the operation. But again, looking at the amounts, it was $8,730 to get us through the month of August, and then $14,969 per month to get us through the end of the year. And again, there's some opportunities built in there to look at other expenses at the course to reduce as we go through the end of the year.
I have, first of all, I'm excited about some possibilities that Great Life has come forward and some ideas that for our course. But my concern is the cost. It seems like I'm thinking to myself, are we losing, I know there's more to it, but we're losing 1 full-time and we're hiring 2 more full-times, and I think of December. We really need all that. I mean, tell me what we're doing in December that warrants $15,000. So again, I'm excited about the possibilities with Great Life working with us and the opportunities that we could have, but I question the amount of that we're putting forward.
Basically, the amount, again, based on the 2 full-time employees, there's travel involved with that, there's an administration involved in that, a fee involved in that, obviously, since this is an effect on their operation that they weren't planning on as the year went on. But as we get into the fall, so this is designed at looking at outside golf continuing through the month of December. As we get into late fall, early winter, whatever the case may be when the weather changes, once outside golf ceases or slows down, we will have the ability, we've talked about it already a little bit, is if Amanda would want to come into the Parks Department for us, and then we can have her salary be under the budget. So we would actually pull Amanda from the golf course and have Great Life out there running the golf operation for the limited hours that they would be open. And again, that leads me to the next point, which is having the opportunity to limit the hours that the clubhouse is open in late fall and winter. That would also be, again, getting back into that formula with getting under 257 hours, which is 1.5 full-time employees, and then we get a rebate on those fees, an hourly rebate once we get below that. So we would have the opportunity, again, to adjust our operations to take away hours so they wouldn't have to be down here as much.
I see Mr. Hill is in attendance, so I guess I'm curious to ask him his thoughts or takeaways from the last couple of weeks that you've managed and what you see moving forward in these next months.
Sure. First of all, we're excited about the opportunity. We think you have passionate golf participants out there, and I think that speaks well of the community and the golfing community and the opportunity as well. We have, regarding the fees, et cetera, we have figured in 2 full-time employees with travel, and if you pay the IRS rate from our offices, it's just about $80 per trip, down and back, so that's included in there. We fully anticipate that when outside golf ceases or cuts back, we will not be having 2 full-time people here. That's why we built in the formula to reduce that cost. And so the fee breaks down for like this, just because so that you know, is we have figured in $8,309 per month for payroll for 2 full-time people, $4,160 for travel or lodging, and $2,500 for a management fee, which covers our administrative part. So that's how that fee breaks down per month, and then there is a formula to reduce that for if we don't need as many people. And again, our goal here is to help you reduce your costs, and so we don't want your costs to be any higher than they have to.
In regards to travel, I'm trying to, I don't think we pay contractors to come to town and do work for us and pay for their travel, do we? I mean, it seems different, you know, depending upon the bid, but it's like, you know, when we bid out something, it seems like they consider the travel to include it.
When we do design for projects like the pool project, we pay travel. There's miscellaneous costs. We end up getting billed for travel and overnight stay for like Doug Whitaker with Waters Technology.
One thing about it is, since our people all live in Sioux Falls, if we couldn't figure in the mileage, we couldn't do this, because that would be a direct cost to us of those dollars, and the management fee of $2,500 wouldn't cover travel for us.
And going back to kind of my original question, I appreciate you explaining the costs. How have the past few weeks gone? Reception, as you say, we have heated golfers. I was at the meeting that you guys have, and I appreciate your patience in answering everybody's questions. But could you kind of tell us a little bit about how the last couple of weeks have went, and how maybe those relationships are going in building that with the golfers out there?
Yeah, sure. I prefer the term passionate golfers. It's all good. No, we think it's gone very well. I've spoken to our pro who is here full-time, and he is happy with the interactions that he has both with the staff and with the golfers. We've had a couple, I think we've had 4 golf outings in the last 4 days, so we brought down additional staff on Friday to help out with that. And we think it's going well. We're happy with the Yankton City employees, and we're happy with the golfers.
So has there been any consideration of, or do you think there's a need for another meeting where you would just visit with golf members about their concerns and your plans? Because I know it's hard to find a time out there where there's not a league or some event going on where not all the golfers can make it. But some of the feedback I did get from the first round is there was league going on, so not everyone was able to attend.
Yes, and we are looking at next 2 days from now, Wednesday or the following Wednesday, which is the Ladies League night after the league, so that we can have a meeting with others that couldn't make it. And then if we continue to go forward toward a lease agreement or something like that, we would want to have a lot of meetings because we want public input.
Can you talk a little bit about how your team will be marketing and promoting the golf course over the next couple months? Maybe different than what's been done in the past?
We're there. This agreement is for clubhouse operations. As far as promoting anything differently, unless we have a lease agreement, we wouldn't be promoting Great Life or anything like that. As we go forward, if we get a lease agreement in place or a management agreement in place, we would market it like we do in Sioux Falls, very similar to that. We have we use all kinds of media, so everything from social media to radio to TV and print. We do pretty much everything.
On the marketing side for Fox Run, we would continue to what we have been doing. Again, print ads with the local papers. We are doing some TV ads for both the Summit Activity Center and Fox Run. Of course, we've always been doing some radio ads for Fox Run, Facebook, social media. So the marketing that we have done internally wouldn't really change in this through the end of 2018.
Are there any other commission questions or comments?
I just have one. And do you anticipate the golf pro that you have moved here for the last couple of weeks would be the one that continues through the rest of the season to kind of build those relationships, or would you be swapping out personnel as needed?
We would continue to have Matt Drake as our lead golf pro.
Anyone else? Would anyone from the audience like to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Burdick.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Hoffner.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Moser.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Hill and city staff, for your work in putting this together and your efforts to meet with our golf course membership and help them understand the direction we're taking and getting their input so we can get the best agreement possible and work towards a successful future. And with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss contractual, litigation, and personnel matters under South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Thank you very much.